Parent turnout is always the greatest when there's student turnout. When we invite parents to come and be a part of what the student is doing, it is key. Athletic events have a very high parent participation. Same for arts events and student-led conferences. As they are watching their child or celebrating their child, that is where you can slip in a little bit of education about being smart digitally. At that time, you say, please go ahead, snap those pictures, but make sure you have the permission of any other students in the background. So that's an example of how you're educating the parents about being smart digitally, but also you're educating the students as well.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gyimah Whitaker, and I am the proud superintendent of the City Schools of Decatur. Decatur is just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. We have about 5,500 children that we serve across 10 school sites from birth through 12th grade.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here today. I'm excited. I love Georgia. I've been there many times speaking to parents and parent night events. And as our listeners and event attendees know, we're here to keep students safe on social media, these digital devices, so they can be successful in the walls of the school and in the walls of home, so that when they launch in the future, they can someday shine online and get that dream job, career, and everything else that we want for them as they're resilient kids. We here at Smart Social love our listeners. We're here to support you and answer your questions as you raise those kids in this digital world. Now, Superintendent, I want to ask you, and I want you to put not only you're a parent, right? How old are the kiddos?
Yes, I have two children. I have one that is 15 and one that is 17. So I live the smart social world, not only at work, but also at home.
You are perfect. And also, I want you to put on that hat when you were a teacher, right? Our attendees
Yes.
and listeners, we all love our teachers. We all love our
Yes.
administrators. So we're going to split that hat today a little bit, and you get to play whichever one of those you want. But first, Doctor, I want to ask you a question about parent participation. I hear from our hundreds of superintendents we talk to a year, and 186 to 190 episodes we have so far over the last 2 years with superintendents. They've all told me, Josh, if we can just partner with parents, we can help to build the most resilient kids, that are safest kids, that are ready for the future, and we can overcome the problems if we work together. So my question is about parent participation. What are your suggestions for our audience or for other districts to increase parent engagement? And are there any specific channels, events that might get the biggest turnout?
Yes. One, student turnout or parent turnout is always the greatest when there's student turnout. So yes, I hesitated a moment to say student turnout, but it's truly when we invite parents and we invite the parents to come and be a part of what the student is doing, it is key. So there are a couple of opportunities. Obviously, when you think about athletics, well, athletic events have a very high parent participation. Same for arts events. Same for things when we have students that are exhibiting their own student agency and student-led conferences. All of these are opportunities where the parents can be informed or watch their child, but then also as they are watching their child or celebrating their child, that is where you can slip in a little bit of education about being smart digitally. And you can do that easily when it comes to, say, an arts event where you have your students in the performing arts or the digital art that they are creating. Well, at that time, you say, please go ahead, snap those pictures, but make sure you have the permission of any other students in the background. So that's an example of how you're educating the parents about being smart digitally, but also you're educating the students as well. So that's a tactic that I think is definitely available. And anytime also you get a lot of parent participation when, I hate to say it, things have gone awry. So if there is an issue or a concern about something, just in the community, in the school, when parents are upset about something, they come out. Well, when they come out, use that as an opportunity to educate. I like to call it the truth telling sessions.
Mm, that's a great suggestion. And what I'm hearing from you that we've heard of so many superintendents is they call them combined events. And we've
Right.
heard this, and our resources are here to save lives. And sometimes they'll have a piano, or let's say a violin event where the kids are playing the violin, or some kind of musical event or sports event.
Mhm.
And we've heard from some superintendents, hey, everyone, we're so excited you're here. The principal might say, the kids are in the back, they're excited. But while you're waiting, we have a 90-second video on TikTok safety that your kids are begging for you to watch. So you understand why they're on it. Let's watch this. And there's a key takeaway, a little piece of paper on your seat when you came in. Take it home and practice some of the dialogue starters. And your kids will be out in about a minute. And then they play that. Is that something that you're talking about as well? Is like those get them? I like to call them the bait and switch. The kids are coming out in a minute, but let's watch a video that's really bite-sized. Is that something your community likes too?
Yes, yes, that is definitely something that would be helpful. Anytime you have the parents present is when you have to use it. You have to take that opportunity to educate. You know, in the beginning of the year, you have that curriculum night, opening day, or whatever it may be in all of our schools. While they're there, you have to maximize their participation. If it is when they're coming online and to complete their registration or update registration, you could easily say, oh, please go ahead and watch this video as well. So there are lots of ways that you do capture the parent or guardian along the way. And while you have their attention, that's when you need to capitalize on it for education.
I love that. I think it's such a good idea for all of our listeners listening right now. That's $1 million tip we're hearing right now from our guest expert, but also school districts all over the country. And you're probably thinking our community's unique. And yes, that's true. But remember, we have real humans with kids that have all the same devices. They have an iPhone or an Android or an iPad, these screens. And so we have similar loving issues, if you will, issues in a
Yes.
loving way, I'd say, right?
Yes.
Now, doctor, I have another question for you. And it's about excessive screen time impact on student behavior. This is something you're an expert as an administrator. You started as a teacher and you're a mom, which is a huge deal, right? You're the
Yes.
expert of all experts right now. And all of our listeners are this way too. But for our listeners right now, you know, this is a no shame event. We
Yeah.
all have these problems and issues and it's fun and we like to laugh about it, but we're here. We love you. And so let's dive on into this. These are some tips that our listeners can use if they want to, or even better, maybe your kids are perfect listeners and they always laugh. Maybe you have angels at home, but the community could use a couple tips. So let's make you an expert. Doctor, how are you seeing excessive screen time impact students' motivation or their mental or physical health?
Well, first, I want to give my students a shout out. So I'll start with there. We are in the midst of something called a Chromebook refresh. So that means we are surveying our students. We're asking our students about their use of their current student system issued device. We have had some students to say, I would prefer that my Chromebook not be a touch screen. You might wonder, well, why would they want that? Because it's normal. They said, well, it's because that is a distraction because this device does have that embedded on it. And so they are equating their work, their tool for their work, i.e., their computer, to work. But when it comes to the phone, that is what they want to be touch screen. And so that's the first thing I want to say is some true great decision making that my students have had. So I want to give my students a shout out for that because recognizing that type of self-regulation is helpful. It's helpful when you think about excessive screen time. So if I can have a student tell me, I want to self-regulate by only having a touch screen to my phone, that's telling me that they recognize they're on it too much. And what happens when they're on it too much? One, you have more referrals, I would say, to your student services department because there's so much happening on their own mental psyche and what they're seeing, the way they're comparing themselves, the way they're looking at what oftentimes are influencers, not necessarily just the regular student down the street, and what they have and what they perceive to be normal, those sorts of things are coming to play when you have excess screen time. Additionally, excess screen time, I really think is contributing to so many people needing these, otherwise known as glasses. I think about pre-pandemic, even myself, I did not wear glasses. These glasses on my eyes are only used when I'm at the computer. So the excessive amount of screen time that you would think me as an adult, already mature in my growth and development of vision, well, our students are still growing, they're still developing. And that amount of screen time that close to their eyes, it's going to have an impact. So that excessive is around their physical health as well as their mental health.
I love that. I wrote a few things down. Find it fascinating that students don't want touch screens on the Chromebook. I think it's a great request. And also to all of our listeners today, your students are the experts. Like, we have to have this dialogue. This is what the doctor's saying. Is the superintendent's saying, let's have this rich dialogue with our kids. They will come up with some of the best solutions that you can work together with them on. And number two, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and do a deep research study on, because my eyesight, doctor, has gotten a little worse just in the last 2 years. And I realized it could be me looking at the screen too close. You bring up a really good point. That's really interesting. So I'm taking notes. I'm learning from you. For all of
Awesome.
our audience, I'd like to take just a moment to share with you some of the questions that parents ask us. They say, hey, Josh, what advice, Josh, would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Let's hear from some of the teens in our program.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start. If they feel, for instance, being uncomfortable, or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
Parents, as you can see right there, not only the teens in our program, but teens all over the country, probably your teens, have ideas. If you just ask them, they'll probably have some kind of a solution, which is terrific. Now, for those of you parents who are with our partner school districts, remember we have weekly live parent events and replays. It used to be that I was one of the top social media safety traveling spokespersons around the country. I'd go to high schools and middle schools in 29 different states. Georgia was one of them. I love you, Georgia. But it just gets too exhausting. And now we do it live from Los Angeles. You get a Tuesday night and a Thursday night event, and you get replays in 12 languages. There's teens in our program. You just saw that, and a premium parent newsletter that's phenomenal. We've heard from parents, designed by parents for parents. I want to take just a quick look at when things go right. This is one of our favorite districts. We don't play favorites, but if I had to pick one, Duran here is a wonderful person and his staff is even better. Let's take a look at what happens when things go right in a well-engaged community. And to our district partners, you can do this with any resources you have. You are the one that needs to decide whether it's too much screen time or just right.
But parents and teachers know when it comes to teenagers and social media, that's easier said than done. So, in an effort to protect students from the dangers of being chronically online,
Get their kids excited about talking with their parents and strengthening that relationship.
Darcy Wertique, Spectrum News.
Okay, parents, remember we've got an event every single week just about throughout the school year, and lots of different flavors. So no matter your question and no matter your language, we're going to have an answer, a live event with Q&A and a replay that you can watch from the convenience of your own home. Okay, we're back to our expert doctor. I want to tap into the mom side of you. I want to tap into the teacher side of you, and tap into the superintendent side. So let's talk about behaviors contributing to chronic absenteeism. Now, some districts say that the excessive screen time leads to increased anxiety, depression, and cyberbullying, which contributes to a decline in school performance. I want to add something to that line. I've heard from some district leaders saying, Josh, it's also called screen fatigue. And let's think of this as to our audience. If your kid's up late night on Fortnite or video games and they're allowed to do that, that screen fatigue keeps them from what we're about to see, which is attending school. Now, Superintendent, are you seeing this or other related online behaviors impacting student academic success or attendance?
Well, I'll say a yes and a no. So, yes, on academic success, not as much on the attendance. So, to say that it's truly cause for that, we aren't seeing necessarily chronic absenteeism due to screen time, but the screen time is influencing other behaviors. So, for instance, we have students that have used social media to start, plan, or even escalate a confrontation, either in the community or even at the school. So that use of screen time is contributing to behaviors that we don't want to see at school or at home. And the idea of cyberbullying is something that not only is our school system taking a look at, but even your state legislatures are. So as right now, we've been talking a lot about what we're doing at a local level, meaning the school system or even in my own home. But oftentimes our state legislatures are creating safety bills around distraction-free zones or even including cyberbullying and that type of code of conduct. So the ways in which screen time can impact student overall success can be tremendous. We're not necessarily seeing it in attendance, but we are seeing it in behavior.
Yeah, so well said. And behavior leads to really everything else, right? It might not
Right.
lead down to an attendance issue, but it might lead parents to more arguments. Maybe, and to some parents that need to hear this right now, maybe your kid got really quiet. Maybe your kid is like not behaving the normal way. And maybe that's like the superintendent just said, perhaps they're seeing something inappropriate online, or they were chatting with someone online who is a stranger that now is changing their tone and it's making your child feel a little bit different. That rich dialogue between your kid is the only safety app in the world that's going to protect your child. It's not, no offense to the great companies of Microsoft and Google and everywhere else and Meta, the only safety app in the world, parents, is going to be that rich dialogue you have. So your kids feel comfortable coming to you or a trusted adult when they see something inappropriate online. Okay, Superintendent, my question for you now is about screen time impact on the home environment. This is an important one because I want to ask you, what does balanced, healthy screen time look like? And what do you suggest parents and their children do to come to an agreement around screen time to decrease arguments?
Yes. One, I'm going to say you need to model it. So when you're talking about screen time, I told you I have a 15 and a 17-year-old. So I'm very much in the modeling stage of a lot of things. We're modeling driving. So what does it mean when you come to a stop sign? What does it mean when you need to turn on that signal? When you need to switch lanes, things of that nature. Your children are watching you. You role model what you believe about driving,
Yeah.
and you role model what you believe about screen time. If it is that you're always on your own screen, what does that show your child? So those types of norms are key. Regular conversations about their online experience. And notice I said regular conversation. Yes, I can say, hand it over, let me see. And I do that from time to time, yes. But also regular conversation about the good, the bad, the ugly, the confusing, using all of those types of words when you're talking to your teens about what they are seeing on the screen. I do that even in my own home. Another key piece around this is coming up with some norms. I know when during the summer, there is a norm in my home that the phone can't stay in your room to charge. It has to come to our room to charge. I say during the summer because during the school year, guess what? Everyone's knocked out. I know that because everyone's tired from the course of the day.
Yeah.
But when you get into the summer, it's more relaxed. And so you would have students sometimes or children have the proclivity just to swipe, 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 swipe. And when they wake up groggy, the eyes are a little red, Those are the things that as a parent, you need to look for. And when you see those things, go ahead and don't be afraid to make that change. There are, just as you said, the Microsofts, the Googles, the all types of parental controls, apps, things of that nature. But setting up some guidelines, some parameters, some norms about what it looks like and
Mhm.
feels like, and know that it can change. Like I
Mhm.
said, summer norms look a little different than school year norms, but those are some of the things that as a parent, I would suggest coming to agreement with.
So true. I love that. And superintendent, I want to show everybody in the background right now. The superintendent is so right about those norms, the rules at home, and what I'm hearing from you as well, doctor, is it's okay to sometimes be a tough parent. And
Mhm.
love sometimes is going to be tough. And we want to remind our audience, the doctor didn't say this, but I did. If your kids dislike you once a month because you reduced their screen time or you took a device away that's better for them at the age of 25, they're going to be better behaved at 25 and they're going to dislike you today. We love you. We're rooting for you for being that tough parent, the tough love, right?
Yes.
And we support you in that. And as the doctor just said, we talk a lot about the impact of screen time on motivation, health, and academics. And we've got some really big events coming up. We've got May 7th, 13th, 15th, depending on when this episode comes out. We do this every single week. Over the summer, we got a couple of events. We've got reducing arguments with a family media plan. Now, parents, we want you to know this is a document that has all the questions that you need to know about to ask your kids going into the summer, going into the new year, the new school year. And also, if you're going to give them a phone or a new phone or an iPad or anything digital, or if they're going to go over to their friend's house and they have an extra zombie phone, which is an extra phone in the kitchen drawer. Oh, you can set up Snapchat. You didn't talk to your parents about that? Here, just use this phone. Well, if you didn't talk to your mom about it, I mean, I guess you can set it up, right? Because she didn't say not to. This document, if you go through it, and guess what? It is free. Go through this document. It gives you all the questions you should ask your kids so that they go, oh, I didn't know that that was off limits. And then we have it in Espanol as well, the 28th. And then we've got replays of everything you're looking for, the pros and cons of video games, the understanding social media's impact on teens, avoiding strangers, shine online, optimizing parental controls, world-class events, a lot of stuff going on, and shout out to the team. I want to ask one more question of our guest. Superintendent, my last question, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit for this. Put your mom hat on for a sec, if you will, or teacher hat or whatever. What's a question you want parents to ask their kids that they didn't know? Because we here at Smart Social believe that the kids are the experts. Everybody knows that, the audience. They're better at the devices. But how do we pull out the wisdom so they go, I never thought about that before. I guess I'll have to think about that in dialogue with my parents. What's a good question to ask the kiddos so they go, oh, now I've talked about this with my parents?
Well, I would always ask the question of, what did you learn today? So typically you ask, what did you learn today? And they tell you something that happened at school.
Mm.
But ask the question, what did you learn today online? By that, you're starting to get behind what I would like to say the interests of students, interests of your child, and then you can get them talking. From there, you can find out about those interactions you mentioned earlier. Well, where did you learn that? On what site? Did you have other friends that were interested? Did you see any other online friends that were interested? Oh, I want to see that. I do all of those things. I know a whole lot about musical theater because I show the interest into what they are interested in. Now, granted, theater is theater, but not all theater is appropriate for someone that's 15. So being able to say, what did you learn? I can then delve into, is she watching the theater that I believe is appropriate for a child that age? Making sure that the people or the celebrities that she's following or interested in, I can then begin to look into those things as well. Because as a parent, you can't know everything that they know. You don't know all of their friends. I mean, many of our students go to high schools with thousands of other children potentially.
Yeah.
However, when you think about thousands of other people face to face and the potential millions of people that are online, you have to find out, what did you learn? And so It's a different take on the exact same question that you typically ask, which is, how was your day? What did you
Mm,
learn? What
mhm.
did you do? But when you think about it in a digital space, in a social media space, then you get to see, did they really see something that I need to know?
Yeah. Superintendent, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely great. To all of our listeners, remember you can go to smartsocial.com to learn more. And we hope that you'll partner with us, whether you're a parent, you want to partner in protecting your family, or whether you're a school district and you want to host these parent engagement events to bring everybody, no matter their language, their background, or how busy they are. We've got 50 chances to join the live events all year long, and they can replay them at any time of the hour in short segments or the whole thing and get all their questions answered. We're honored to be able to keep the world safe so they can someday do my dream, which is shine online. Hey, parents, remember, no matter what you do online, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Thanks for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.